Hey Aquarius, this is your April 2020 video. This is a general reading. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Some of it might be for you, some of it might be for someone else. You might be cross-watching. You could be an Aquarius, you could be a sun sign, moon sign, rising sign, Venus sign. You could be watching for someone that's an Aquarius. Either way, I'm grateful you are here. You can find me on Instagram at Candy Wishman, or you can, if you're interested in the Twinflame stuff that I do a lot of exclusive content with Patron that you can subscribe to. So let's kind of get right into it. Wow, let's get right into it. Like it's the day, but it's the full moon in Libra coming in hard. We're all being affected in one way or another. But let's see what this month has to offer you. So let's take a look at your overall energy, or the overall energy of the month. Yeah, was it Aries that had this? We have the Ascended Masters and create open communication. Okay, so you're going to be, what I heard very clearly was you will be open. You will be receiving synchronicities, messages. Maybe not right now. I feel some of you are not clouded, but like overwhelmed a little bit with the energy of this moon. But once the energy of the moon releases, it's going to be like looking at a whole new world in a lot of ways. But I just feel like there's an energy of really creating that open connection with your higher self, with your soul guidance team. And so just be very mindful of that, because there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to create that. And it happens differently for a lot of people. For some, they journal. For some, they ask to communicate in dreams, through meditation, music, song, lyrics, random conversations with people, things like that. So just be mindful of how it shows up for you, because it could be different. And ultimately, I also heard it's your preference. So what is your preference in all of this? You know, you're not subjected to how the universe wants to communicate with you. You're you're in control of how you want the universe to communicate with you. That sounds better. Okay. All right. So where do you need to focus your energy, Aquarius? Where do you need to focus your energy? Okay. We got 4. All right. So the first thing we got was the 9 of Wands. Okay, so I feel like there are some experiences you've had in your life, because the 9 of Wands is an energy of persevering through trials, through experiences, lessons, if you will, but using them to your advantage. So I feel like there are going to be some older experiences coming forward from the past for you that are going to allow you to revisit them with fresh eyes and utilize, or really see how you can utilize the lessons you learned, the skills you learned in coping with those situations. The focus is more on what you learned from it and what gifts it gave you, versus focusing on the actual incident itself or the situations, because I feel like some of them could have been patterns that kept showing up for you. And then we have the 5 of Swords. Okay, so the 5 of Swords, it's an energy, it can be an energy of, it could be like a combative energy where you need to really determine what you're fighting for. I feel like this is also very similar to Aries, but it doesn't really matter. It's just coming up. Maybe you have Aries in your chart as well, or an Aries, so you can relate. But I just feel like this is sort of like, what are you, like, because there's broken swords on the ground. What are you breaking your swords over? Is it worth the loss of the sword? Is it worth fighting for? Because sometimes it is. Sometimes, even though, you can take a step back and become the observer and feel like, okay, am I being petty about this? Am I really hanging on to something I don't need to hang on to? But it's sometimes, in order for us to experience a place of holding our own and setting our own value and creating that hard limit for ourselves or boundaries with other people, we need to be firm on what we're fighting for. And it all has a purpose, okay? So for some things, they're not really worth fighting for. Like, you know, maybe you're hanging on to something that you don't really want to, like pride is having you hang on to it, kind of a deal. But sometimes, sometimes there's a reason you're being really so focus on what that reason is. What is the intention? What is it bringing you? I know, an example for me, when I was going to collaborate, when I was collaborating, I was like, these are my set standard prices. And I was very firm about that. And I said, I know I sound like I'm all about money, and I know I sound like I'm being very hard about this, but in me trying to develop my own value and really set the standard for that for myself, I have to experience what that's like. So I had to be very firm about it. So sometimes the fight is part of the lesson, right? It's part of bringing yourself out of a different experience of just giving in, especially when it comes to self-worth. I feel like that's coming up a lot. So we have the Lovers here. And for some, this is divine union. For some, this is choices. I do feel like the energy of this card is around your relationship with love and how you've related romantically to other people. I do feel like this is a very inquisitive time for you. I think there's a lot of knowledge to be had, and I feel like you're going to be in this place of detachment, Aquarius, where you can navigate these situations and sort of glean the data from them without getting caught up in the emotions. So I think it's a very valuable, knowledgeable time for you. And then we have the Two of Pentacles, okay? So again, we have choices here. This is about balancing the spiritual and the physical, or having to make a decision with those two parts together. But I feel like maybe observing around the decisions you make and why you're making those decisions. This could be a decision about a relationship for you. I'm just going to go there. I feel like you're kind of like, okay, what do I really want to fight for? Am I really fighting for it? Can I let this go with love? If it's not meant to shift and change into something else, but have I made a decision about this? Am I willing to act on it? Am I willing to take what was amazing about this relationship and bring it forward so I don't feel like it's a complete loss? And I feel like maybe that's kind of where the Ascended Master's open communication is going to come in. I think you're going to have to start communicating with your own higher self and your soul guidance team to help navigate that stuff for you. It's not an easy place to be. Ooh, apparently that card needed to come out. I don't know if you guys saw that. Okay, yeah. So we have the Nine of Pentacles. Just like flew right over. Okay, so the Nine of Pentacles is about looking good, feeling good, focusing on your independence, doing what you have to for you so you can thrive. So I feel like that's your answer right now. That's your focus. That's the focused energy that's coming forward for you. All right, now, what needs to be surrendered for you? What needs to be surrendered this month? Okay. All right, so we got three. So the Queen of Wands came up, but it came up in reverse. It flipped out purposely that way. And the first thing I heard was anything in your life that this is what needs to be surrendered. Anything in your life that makes you feel disempowered. Okay, it's showing up for you so that you can recognize where you're disempowered. But upon learning that lesson, it's time to release it, okay? And then the next one that came up was the Queen of Cups. So for some of you, this is absolutely in development of... it is in development of your spiritual gifts, okay? It's not about surrendering them. It's surrendering your limitations around those gifts. And I also heard surrendering any kind of emotional neediness. I don't feel like this collective I'm speaking to is an overly emotionally invested energy. I don't feel like there's a lot of emotional neediness there, but there is an energy of avoidance of certain circumstances. There's an avoidance of not being able to deal with the emotions that certain decisions will bring. Okay, so surrendering to those emotions, surrendering to the need to avoid. Okay, and then the Six of Wands in reverse. Okay, so surrendering any concept that you will fail, surrendering any concept that you could fail, because ultimately you're making the decisions you need to make for you and your greatest and highest good and how you feel about things, which is so much more important than, I mean, the interesting thing is I can see the brain calculating and trying to, it's almost like trying to calculate risk. But I don't know if you can quantify this kind of data. And I feel like for some of you, you're just going to have to trust and create new sets of data and just do what you need to do. I feel like hopefully you'll understand that. Okay, some challenges. Okay, what are some challenges you will face? Okay. So we have the Page of Cups. Okay, so we have emotions showing up here. And then we have the Ten of Wands. So I get more so that the challenge that you have is worrying. It's not about being overwhelmed with your emotions. I think if you really sit in the seat of your soul, you're like, I can handle it. But I think that the brain, because I'm saying I think a lot, the brain is stressing out over being overwhelmed with your emotions. And we're going to get to supportive energies, but I just feel like maybe you need to be overwhelmed with them to realize it's not as bad as you're calculating the risk to be. See how that works? See how the logic, and because your logic sign, you know, it's about that kind of energy. I feel like this is sort of helping you recognize that you can overcome this challenge by allowing your heart to sit in your heart space and welcome the overwhelming emotions and letting them flow. Because when you let them flow, they only become overwhelmed when we hold on to them and they overwhelm us, right? Like a dam building up. But if you sit in flow and you allow them to flow, they don't do that. So I feel like even though it's a challenge, I think it'll be a really good experience challenge for you to have. All right, so what are some supportive energies you can rely on other than, you know, establishing your connection with your higher self, your soul guidance team? Very interesting. Whoop. Okay. Okay, that was it. So the Justice card came up, and this is generally about karma or balancing karma, but I heard very clearly this is about the Libra full moon. Okay, so this Libra full moon is absolutely going to be a support for you. Like I said, I feel like you're going to feel the pressure building up, but once it releases, and feel free to participate in any kind of ceremony or meditation. It can be something you've made. You can look a lot of things up online and go with what feels right for you. I feel like it's just going to be like a weight lifted off your shoulders, like you can breathe again. Okay, so be mindful of that. And then we have the King of Swords in reverse. Okay, so that tells me that even though your logic is keeping you in this place of fearing possible outcomes, it's also very good at keeping your own emotions in check. And even though you're feeling overwhelmed by your emotions, you know, especially based on the experiences you've had, you know that you can rely on your own ability to come back to center, to come back to balancing yourself out. I feel like this is a lot of balancing, and I think you're very good at that. I feel like you're very good at that. So just trust. There's a lot of trust being needed. Ask for help. Even if it's not an ascended master or whatever, you can ask a friend. I feel like you're really on this precipice of your life changing in a lot of ways, and I get that creates fear because there's fear in the unknown. But I do feel like the next few weeks for you after this full moon are going to be hugely pivotal, and there's going to be this observation side to you that is going to pay dividends down the road. All right, let's see what a major event is going to happen. Okay, so we have financial constraints showing up, and whenever this card shows up, I don't necessarily think about actual losing money. But I will tell you there is a direct correlation, and maybe this is why I kept talking about it so much at the beginning of the video, but there's a direct correlation between the value you have in yourself and the value and the amount of money and abundance you have. Okay, so I feel like a lot of the decision, okay, I feel like a lot of the decision making you're having difficulty with stems a lot around value, okay? It's not all around value. I feel like you've done a lot of work around that. But there are still certain energies that are disempowering you. So I just feel like whatever this event is, there is going to be an aha moment for you where you're like, okay, for some of you, it's going to be like, gratefulness is amazing. Okay, so don't take it like it's amazing, except when you take it to the point where you were like, this is good enough. I'm okay with these breadcrumbs. At least I have these things. Okay. It's a shift in your energy that's going to be like, okay, I am calling in these little things because I'm saying that it's good enough. I'm saying that at least I have that. At least it's sort of telling the universe, like, this is what I'm worthy of. So it's sort of shifting that energy for you where you're going to be like, okay, maybe I need to start saying, I'm grateful for this. How can it get any better than this? Sort of just shifting that, being grateful for what you have, but realizing that it's okay to want more, and that's not selfish or self-serving. It's actually a part of your birthright. Okay. All right, let's get a little message, a little guidance from the fairies. I love me some fairies, and see what they got for you for April. I think it's going to be a very transformative month for everybody on the planet, especially with it being in the first house, in the house of self. We are starting to turn inward and take more responsibility about how we feel, about how people make us feel is our responsibility, right? How we react to that and how we absorb it and what we do with it. So I do feel you're not going to be alone in this struggle. I do feel you're in a different position than most signs. And for those of you that have, that's funny. I'm going to pull this up. So we have balance again. Trusting yourself to balance. But anybody even with an Aquarius moon or Aquarius rising, you have that observer part of you that helps you detach more so than the other signs. So I do believe that that's going to help you tremendously. There we go. Okay. So the first one was balance. Take everyone's input into consideration. Merge viewpoints to create a better solution. Take your time. There's no need to rush. Okay. And then we have 9 of Spring. Protect the fruits of your labors. Prepare for possible challenges that lie ahead. Okay. So I do feel like, this is more so, this speaks very much to those of you, again, it's a 5, freedom through change. So this balance of taking everyone's input into consideration, and this totally aligns with the difficulty you have around making decisions for certain things or acting on your decisions. And the disempowerment piece is there may be too many other influences and worry about what other people think showing up in your ability to make a decision for yourself. And the truth is that when you put them all together, you can see whether they align with what you truly want or not. And if they don't, you have a better solution. You have the solution that's best for you. But there's no rush with this. This isn't a thing that has to happen overnight. But energetically, you still need to put the energy out there so the universe can support you. And then here, it's like you know that there are going to be challenges with this situation. But I feel like this card coming out here, what I'm hearing is you can only prepare so much. So at some point you have to accept that it's time for liftoff, and you're going to have to just trust your own wings while you fly. So I hope that this has helped. If this has resonated, please like, share, comment, and or subscribe. Be your peace, love yourself, share your light, and have an amazing month of April.